We've stated many times that neo-Nazis, white supremacists, etc. is a public menace to all of America. And even though a white supremacist says that they love white people and white pride worldwide, we have seen they will kill white people at the drop of a hat, and we know white people aren't safe from white supremacists, just like anyone else outside of white isn't safe around a white supremacist. Case in point, this story. Now, you have two parents that found out their daughter was dating a white supremacist, and they wanted to intervene and stop that from happening, and the white supremacists end up killing the two parents that was trying to help their daughter get away from a terrorist. Let's roll that clip.
Buckley and Scott were uncomfortable with him.
Scott and Buckley Fricker had concerns about their 16-year-old daughter's boyfriend and his interests.
A picture of a skeletal face with blood dripping and horrible.
The Frickers, parents to 3 kids, did what any concerned parent would, told the teens they couldn't see each other anymore.
They kept a tight eye on her, and they disapproved of all the time she was spending with him, hours on the phone.
Friday morning, Buckley's final post on Facebook, a triumph over tyranny, a quote that reads, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." Hours later, Kuhn says there was an early morning rendezvous between Fricker's teen daughter and the suspect. Police are not identifying the suspect because of his age, so we are not identifying him here.
She let in. They spent an hour together approximately from 4 to 5, and Buckley and Scott heard a noise or somehow sensed something was up.
Kuhn says the boyfriend shot the Frickers when they confronted him, and then he shot himself. The family still in shock and coming to terms with the senseless act. Kuhn says she knows Scott and Buckley would have no regrets in how they protected their daughter.
I can't think of anything else they could have done, but who could ever foresee anything this horrible?
If you enjoy the engaging news and information we present on this channel, would you consider partnering with us on Patreon? Your support helps us to remain your go-to source for news and commentary for only $2 or $5 per month. That's less than a cup of coffee. During the YouTube ad crisis, we faced the horrible idea that our show would have to be shut down. But it was great people like you that made the difference and helped to save our show. We want to give a huge thank you to every difference maker that supported us on Patreon, and make sure to subscribe to our channel.
Now, when the parents found out that this guy was a neo-Nazi terrorist, they've been trying to break them up for months. Now, the mom and dad, 43-year-old Buckley Fricker and 48-year-old Scott Fricker, was shot dead Sunday at 5 a.m. after finding the boy in their daughter's room. The 17-year-old boyfriend turned his gun on himself after killing them and is now in a hospital in a life-threatening condition. Now, he was caught driving after carrying out the killings, and the mom, the grandma, reported him to the private school where he and the daughter attended together. Now, neither of the pair is named because of the underage, but the 17-year-old boy was charged with 2 counts of murder on Saturday afternoon as he clung to his life. Once the parents found all the messages that the boyfriend was saying on Twitter, she emailed the school and said that he was a monster and that he was, I quote, spreading hate. Now, the mom was an attorney and she ran a elderly care business, and she was determined to keep him away from their impressionable daughter, who she feared he was indoctrinating. Yes, he was radicalizing her, and of course, any parent that don't want their child being radicalized into something like that. Now, you have white people who are not racist and don't want anything to do with that. And usually people like him, the neo-Nazis, the KKK, etc., they'll get angry with that white person and call them a liberal. They don't even know their political stance or even their political at all. Just because they don't want their children to be a white supremacist, they are a liberal. And it leads us to believe that the conservative movement at least the Caucasian conservative movement, is a haven for white supremacists. They love it over there. And as we can see, case in point, Donald Trump and the things that he promoting, the things that he say out of his mouth. It's not that people making up lies on him. He tweets, he say things. So case in point, you know, you're promoting child molesters to try to run for Senate. The proof is in the pudding with that. So the mom and grandma had an intervention with the teenage daughter. Explain to her what's wrong with that white supremacist terrorist. They also explained to them what Nazis did to Jews. She understood what was going on. She broke it off with him. She didn't want anything to do with him anymore. But he ended up coming to the house. They heard him inside the house. They confronted him, and he pulled out a gun and shot them. Now, if he was so in love with white people, why would he take a gun and shoot white people? I thought white people were supposed to be pure and great and honorable, and that's what you do. You love white people. But understand, this is another white person, two white people, who lost their lives at the hands of a white supremacist. You have Heather Heyer in Charlottesville, lost her life at the hands of a white supremacist. It's got to come to a head in the white community that you're going to have to eradicate your community of white supremacists, because they're harming you and they're killing you too. They're getting more erratic. They're doing things because they feel emboldened because 45 is in office and they feel they can just get away with all that right now. You're going to have to take the lead on that. Black people don't need to do it. It's not our responsibility. We don't have the privilege in this nation or the influence in this nation to do anything. You have to deal with that, or you're going to constantly keep seeing other white people being murdered at the hands of white supremacists. Now, this kids don't have their parents anymore. And that's one thing that most people fear when your kids start dating, is who they're going to be around. Me, thank God I've been on the streets enough to read people, because I'd have read probably him a mile away, wouldn't want him in my house. But that's just how it is. And as parents, you got to protect your family at all times. Now, if they feel that boy's like that, they should have had the firearm ready for him if he came in the house. Because, hey, when you breaking in the house, it's a little different. But I don't know how Virginia law is, but Texas got a castle law. So he was an intruder at that point. But all I'm saying is, with this situation, is that racism is killing everybody, not just non-white people. White people are dying at the hands of white supremacists. And until you guys deal with it, you're going to see more and more of this happen. And I'm just being the guy that warning you, being the voice in the wilderness, crying out to everybody that they are terrorists and they get away with murder in this country, literally. But we'll see, you know, or it'll be the demise of this country, white supremacists, because unfortunately a lot of you don't want to deal with the error in your community, but a lot of people want to try to correct the error in my community. But leave me a comment, let me know what you think about this particular story. Share the video, like the commentary, subscribe, and make sure you click the notification bell to find out we post new news stories or live streams.